Okay, hi everybody. I am Zen Honeycutt of Moms Across America, and I'm very happy to be with you here today. If you are tired of hearing bad news and you are deeply concerned about what's going on in the food industry, if you're reading any news out there about what's going on with the deregulation of GMOs, with the dumping of food that should be going to food banks and to our American citizens, the lack of the distribution due to the COVID shutdown, if you're deeply concerned about what's going on with the food supply, regarding the food security, the supply chain, the lack of nutrient dense food, and the amount of junk food that Americans are eating, if you're concerned that people just don't know how to cook food anymore and they're eating so much processed food that it's contributing to their immune system being broken down and the spread of viruses like COVID. If you're concerned about any of this, you're not alone. And we are going to address all of those issues today. I am so excited. I love to talk about food solutions. And today with me, I have two very special hosts. You're going to want to listen to everything they have to say. You're going to want to know more. I'm going to give you the links to their websites as well so you can find out more. John Stephen Bianucci is with us from Iroquois Valley Farms. And also we have David Rose from Just One Organics. And these two gentlemen and their teams have been working on the food supply for decades. And some of, from John Stephen Bianucci for his family has been in the food industry for generations. And David Rose has been working on this for about 22 years. And together with their teams, they have solutions that address all of these issues. A little bit of background, John Stephen Bianucci is the Director of Impact and Conservation Innovation Grants at Iroquois Valley Farms. And they're a public benefit corporation and a real estate investment trust. And they invest in organic farmers, support organic farmers to transition over and increase the access to organic food in America. Welcome, John Stephen. Did I explain that correctly? Is there anything you'd like to add?
Yes, you explained it very well. I am Director of Conservation at Iroquois Valley Farmland REIT, and we are a finance company specializing in family farmers, organic family farmers. So we began in 2007 with friends and family money of the co-founders, Dr. David Miller and Dr. Stephen Rivard, a medical doctor. And we're all about public health. We're all about fresh food that's clean, without poison, and we can have that in this country without poison for us to be able to feed our families.
And we have a problem right now, and that is, what is the percentage of organic cropland right now? Isn't it like 2% or something? Isn't it a very small amount of the American crops?
For grains, it's still under 2%. For vegetable production, it's a little higher. It's about 4%.
Okay, so you help address that issue by increasing the amount of organic acreage in America, correct?
And we do that by getting private investors to invest their money in our company, and then we invest in organic farmers in three ways. We either purchase farmland that they want to buy. Farmers bring farmland opportunities to us. Then we purchase that land and lease it to them on a long-term basis with a secure path to ownership. We also provide mortgage financing or refinancing, and we also provide operating lines of credit so that they can build strong family farm businesses.
This is fantastic. So if you are currently investing in any type of stocks, you have a 529 plan for your kids, or any type of investment that you're concerned has an impact on the earth in a negative way, it's now time to take another look at your investments. And Iroquois Valley Farms is one of those investments that actually invests in the future of the planet and the earth and our country and your children's health, the water supply, the air supply, and the type of nutrients that our citizens are getting in America. So I'm very excited about this opportunity. And we're going to talk more about the food supply. And I'd like you to chime in, John Stephen. But now I want to introduce.
Let me just say that we have a $50 million direct public offering The minimum is $10,183.
Okay.
So anybody in America who has that much money to invest can invest in farming, organic farming at the farm production level. So we can help build an organic system that we have built to 50 billion plus through our consumable dollars only. You can also do it through your investable dollars.
That's great. So a minimum of about $10,000 investment, and that supports organic farmers to stay on their farm and to transition to organic farming and to create, and it's more also, you're focusing also on regenerative organic farming as well, right?
Correct.
I also want to introduce David Rose is the founder and creator of Just One Organics. It's a global brand to build a network of regenerative food systems and economic engines called gentle drying centers. And this is Just One Organics is a trade name for a retail and commercial line of organic, gentle dried fruit and vegetable puree crystals that creates a connection between the healthy microbe-rich soil, thriving local organic food economies, and our own well-being. So this is really exciting to me because once companies and teams like Iroquois Valley Farms support organic farmers, then these organic farmers need to, of course, have a place to sell their crops. And some of them are doing very well in grocery stores and restaurants and things like that. But there is a huge problem with food waste. So there's about, what is this statistic? Well, first of all, welcome, David Rose. Would you like to add anything else to that? And we'll get into the details.
Thank you, Zen. It's really great to be here, and it's so good to meet you, John. I've been wanting to meet you for many years, and so I'm honored to be here with all of you. And yes, the piece. So I'm a maverick economic thinker and a business person that's worked in a lot of different areas. And what got me into this 22 years ago was seeing, as I was invited to help a bunch of farmers here in Hawaii to access some USDA grant money, I found how broken the food system is. And I've been working ever since to ask simple questions like, what is everybody else doing to fix this? What's something that people aren't doing to fix it? And because I've been looking at it for so long, the general statistics overall, when you take in the whole country and how much food do we all eat and how much of that food is grown locally and how much of that food's organic. The organic piece is actually growing fast, and that's wonderful. We need to keep that going. But the localization of the food system is taking a really long time. And so over 20 years, you get to see that. And also we have so many farmers now retiring, and they're not going to farm anymore. The average age of farmers is my age, and most of their kids don't want to farm anymore. So how do we create, thank you, John, for being a huge part of this, a whole generation of new farmers? How do we actually do that? What's the plan to do that? What's the tactical plan to get millions of people who want to farm and who can make good money farming? So part of the plan has to be, where are they going to farm? How are they going to get access to land? So enter Iroquois Valley Farms to help them do that. But the other piece is, where are they going to sell their food? So I've asked hundreds of farmers, what will it take to get you to grow more food? And the answer is always the same two words: buy it.
Yes.
That's it.
They need people to buy it. And so this is where I'm going to show some of your product. I'm very excited to be able to do this. You have, well, why don't you actually say what is this drying program? And then I'll show the images. Okay.
These are raspberry crystals that were dried, and they were gently dried at a very low temperature, very, very quickly, to preserve all the nutrients in the food as well as their fragrance, flavor, and color. So this is broccoli, and this looks and smells and tastes like real broccoli. And so we can do this with, right now we have almost 20 different fruits and vegetables. And the point of the process is to elevate the value of the food while preserving not just its nutrition. Other people can do that, but our work preserves not just the nutrition, but also tremendous value in flavor, fragrance, and color, which is what makes people want to eat it. So as compared to other wonderful superfood powders that people don't want to touch, they don't really want to eat it plain in their mouth. It's great for smoothies, it's great for other things. Our food, people want to use it for everything. I mean, literally everything. And so now we have a possibility, right? We have a food that is really attractive, really good for people. Most of our foods are single ingredient. We don't add anything to it. So it's the organic, fresh food. Now we have, okay, something that we can sell and bridge between supply and demand locally. That's the whole point, is somebody has to go first. We have to be able to tell farmers, we're buying 7 million pounds of food a year from a general drying center that we're setting up in your community who wants to grow for us. And as they start growing, we need to be able to buy it every day and do something with it. That's wonderful. And it's really great that you mentioned the seconds, the visually imperfect food, because that's this tremendous storehouse of wealth for our organic farmers that's not being tapped. Sometimes we call it slack in the system, or just unused value or buried value in the ground. They compost it or feed it to their animals sometimes, but it's really good food because we puree it first, because we puree it and turn it, this is carrots, because we puree it first, we take that small peach or that ugly carrot and we turn it into something gorgeous. You can't tell anymore. So we elevate the value of the food to grade A. We can sell it as grade A, dehydrated, gentle dried food. And so because of that, the profit margin in those seconds is tremendous. And because of that, we can take that extra margin and recirculate it back into the system. So some of the conversation, John, I'm looking forward to having with you is how do we circulate that value back to help farmers, to help people who are hungry? We can give some of this food away when we buy it at a discount as seconds, because as we all know, farmers don't grow the seconds or the grade A's, they grow their whole crop and they pay to grow the whole thing, but they can only sell part of it. So they've amortized the cost of growing their seconds already in what they charge for their firsts. So when we give them a discounted price, it's free money for them. So they win, the food system wins. We are able to take that extra margin and apply it to what else does that food system need? Are there hungry people that need really great tasting, nutritious food? Do we need to have a community food reserve for disasters and other things where people all of a sudden need food? Can we use some of the money from selling that food to lend money to farmers to buy tractors? Or if they're, there's so many things we can do with that value. So that's all part of the system.
Well, I'm very excited, and I just want to show our viewers that they come in these airtight sealed bags. And this one is kale. This is what it looks like when you get, this is the beets. And what I love about this is that beets are difficult this is just an example. Beets are difficult to eat raw, and they're hard to chop up and peel and, boil and, all that kind of stuff. So when you get a bag of these, you can just add the beet flakes into your shake. This is a shake that I added spinach into. You can't even see it. My kids don't even know it. It's a chocolate shake, right, with a protein shake, and I added in the spinach. And the colors are so vibrant and beautiful that they're really appealing. Like, we added in these raspberry flakes into a coconut whipped cream frosting to made it look like peppermint, we added them into oatmeal. This is the peach that's just been reconstituted with water, so it becomes just like baby food, or also, flavoring, mixing it in. So it's very versatile. Here's mango. Normally mango dries very brown, right? And but these are your mango flakes that look beautiful and vibrant and are absolutely delicious. The food nutritional value, I believe you mentioned, is it 90, 95%, David Rose, something like that?
Depends on the food, but it's tested at around 94, 95%. So we like to say it's over 90%.
So here, this is the importance of this, is you've got organic farmers that are concerned about these giant cost inputs that they have to put into the organic farm to start up. We've got a US government that has just said, we know that organic farmers may be contaminated with GMOs, and that you may have, because of neighboring crops, and you're going to have additional buffer zones. And, there may be, if there's a portion of the crop that's contaminated, you may not be able to sell that as organic or whichever, right? We know that there will be increased cost to organic farmers due to the fact that we are deregulating GMOs And you're simply going to have to take care of that in the marketplace, meaning the consumers are going to need to be charged more. You're going to have to charge consumers more in order to recover your costs for organic farming. So organic farming isn't looking real attractive right now to farmers unless there's a guaranteed buyer. And that's where I'm really excited about, Just One Organics coming in and saying, not only can we buy your crop, but we can make sure that you don't have waste, that if you have ugly fruits or vegetables, we will still buy those, we will dry them, and we will get these flakes out to consumers to use, not just in their everyday food, but this is fabulous for survival preppers, for people who want to keep these bags. How long do these bags last?
They last for years. Our best buy date right now is 3 years, but we know it lasts longer. I'll show you here. I have something, let's see. Oh, here it is. This food here, this is a Hawaiian food that we grew and dried 16 years ago. It's a root crop and it's very nutritious and it's perfect 16 years later.
That's fantastic. So I want to get back to Iroquois Valley Farms, and I'd like for you, John Stephen, to talk a little bit about the importance of why regenerative organic agricultures. David Rose has on his website as well a lot of information about regenerative organic farms. Why regenerative? What's the difference between regenerative and just organic or conventional? Can you talk a little bit about that, John Stephen?
As opposed to simply practices and comparing differences in practices, the difference is more mindset. We call ourselves a make it better company at Iroquois Valley, and our organic farmers are make it better farmers. So they're continually getting better at what they do. And one of the biggest differences that's put out there is what's the difference about organic and regenerative is whether you till or not, so no-till farming. That's a process. Equipment has to be adjusted, developed, maintained, created in order for some farmers to go from some tilling to no tilling. So it's also a matter of gaining expertise. It's a process. You're managing a big farm with very exact processes. So regeneration is, I don't look at regenerative agriculture as better than or higher than organic, but it does have an air of continual improvement, although organic does as well. There is an argument that I think has some merit in that regenerative has been used since the 1990s by the big chemical companies to cover up the use of pesticides and poisons in the land. And there's a lot of regenerative agriculture out there. They may be doing the best in cover cropping and no-tilling the farmland, but if they're still putting poison in the ground, they're killing 25% of the biodiversity that exists on the earth. Mm-hmm. At Iroquois Valley, that's not acceptable. We start with no poison and get better from there.
Yeah, that's why the words regenerative and organic really do need to be together, because
yes,
a major monocrop farmer could be using cover crops, but then they go ahead and spray with glyphosate to kill the cover crop in between planting, and they're, lo and behold, you're destroying the earthworms and the microbiome in the soil and all of that. So very good point. We also would like to reiterate that we are supporters of regenerative organic farming, the two of those together. And so we appreciate that definition. On the Just One Organics website, we love that you have your mission, ARC 1, successful organic farmers, and you mentioned organic and regenerative farmers. And you have a mission here to grow by at least 1 million more farmers. David, do you want to talk about that?
Well, that actually came from, I think, Michael Pollan many years ago when he said that we needed to do that. So I feel we're late. But there's another organization called it's Farmer Veteran Coalition, and I encountered them a few years ago, and they came up with some statistics that back then they were saying there are 10 times the number of farmers over the age of 65 as there are farmers under the age of 35.
Mm.
Think about that, 10 times the number. And they used to talk about what they call the final harvest, which is when these retiring farmers sell their land and move to Florida or something, buy a condo. And it's just, it's taking the legs out from under our food system, basically. Without that, without farmers, we have a few big companies growing poison for us all. So that's not going to work. So yes, we need at least 1 million farmers over the next 5 to 10 years. I'd like to have it sooner, but when you break the numbers down, it is doable. You talked at the beginning about hope, and there is so much reason for not just hope, but for getting really excited about what's happening right now, because it is also a numbers game. It's a commitment to all these values, but it's also a numbers game. And the numbers will work between projects like and companies like Iroquois Valley, who are making real pathways for farmers to get on the land, and the education and the training that's out there by the thousands of companies now that are able to train farmers in how to grow regenerative food, and the work that we're doing and others to create market for that food. There's a lot of hope, and the numbers will be there. And I would like to say to your viewers that with what I've seen, not just in our work, but all around us in the movement, I think it's absolutely possible for us to get there.
Absolutely. So if you have a boss in a company that does investments and they're normally invest in other types of corporations that you don't feel good about, I would love for our viewers to show them this video and to say, look, as a corporation, if you're going to be investing in something, why not stand behind regenerative organic farming and invest in Iroquois Valley farms and support companies like Just One Organics and have it be a part of creating local food security. And when you do that, one thing I loved, we had previous discussions, David Rose, you talked about what if we could have these gentle drying centers in every region throughout the United States. Then those farmers that were farming locally and had, normally 40% food waste. Isn't that the number? Something around 40% food waste? I mean,
25 to 40% on the farm.
25 to 40% on the farm, just rotting on the field, folks. This is unacceptable. We have, I think it's 16 million children or something like that go to bed hungry every night, right? It's a huge number of American citizens that are going hungry. Well, what if all of that food waste could be gentle dried, put into these processed, flakes? The kids could make smoothies with them in the morning. They could add it into oatmeal, which is very inexpensive. They would be getting nutrient dense food that would literally be supporting their brain growth and their development. Now, there's a book I have to share by Barbara M. Stitt called Food and Behavior, The Natural Connection. And she spent 20 years of her life and got a lifetime achievement award for studying criminals and parolees and serial killers and people who were in prison. And what she found when she interviewed them was that they all had one thing in common, and it was not their socioeconomic background, whether they were wealthy or lived in poverty, or whether they were, what race they were. The thing that they all bragged about was that they lived on junk food. And when she had these kids switched over their food supply in their school system, switched over to healthy, organic, more whole foods, the recidivism rate in prisons dropped, the dropout rate in high schools dropped from like 500 down to 14 in one high school. And so when these kids got nutrients and vitamins and minerals through real food, their potential in life just expanded exponentially. They were able to go to college. They were able to stop being criminals. They were able to focus and learn and be a person that they're proud of and that their parents are proud of, right? So this is not just about the food supply and having access to local organic food. This is about the future of our country. This is about the potential of our children, and they need nutrients in order to be able to accomplish what we expect of them, right? To be responsible citizens in this country. And so I am just very excited about this solution, because I think if we could get more of these food crystals into the hands of low-income people who don't have access to nutritional food, into the hands of people who want to stock up and be prepared in case, there is a shortage of food in the food supplies very soon, as they're saying there could be due to climate change and all that. People who want to stock up, people who want to support the local food system, and people who want to create local food security. I think this is one of the ways that we can transform the food system in America. And I'm just very, very excited to be able to interview both of you and to hear more about it. Is there anything else that you want to share, John Stephen, about Iroquois Valley Farm? Is there any other way that people can take action? If they don't have $10,000, I just suggested that they ask their employers, right, to invest $10,000. Is there any other action that you'd like people to take?
First, I'd like to thank you, Zen, and Moms Across America. I think that the relationship on a very broad scale of moms and farmers and medical doctors is indicative of a healthy society and culture. And the fact that we don't have that right now is proof that we are currently not when it comes to our food system.
Yes, and that's a very important point, that our doctors, our scientists, our farmers, our mothers and consumers, and we focus on mothers because mothers buy 85% of the food, right? Women make 90% of the household purchasing choices. So I like to be efficient and get things done quickly, and we focus that way. But men, of course, have been some of our biggest supporters, and we work together to create healthy communities. And to me, that means having access to local food security and organic, regeneratively grown food, which is sorely lacking, to have nutrient-dense food, and for people to have the ability to be able to use food and not just have it go to waste. One other thing I'd like to mention is that so many times when I see articles about food solutions, for instance, there's a great one on Civil Eats right now, and there was a farmer that suggested that if only 1% of the commodity crops were switched from growing soy and corn and wheat and things like that to mixed vegetables, they call it chaos farming, just growing all kinds of vegetables all together on a plot. That would mean 2 million acres of mixed vegetables being grown locally, more locally, right, in the Midwest and places where there are currently food deserts. And of course, we would advocate for them to be grown regeneratively and organically, but that would increase the access to local food by 50%, because that would be 2 million acres growing mixed vegetables. Now, what the farmers say the problem then is that some people don't know how to cook a squash or what to do with kale, right? They just know, maybe they don't like it so much just raw. It maybe tastes too bitter for them, right? So they don't know what to do with it. So the food crystals, I believe, have it be more accessible and give them a solution to be able to use these vegetables and fruits more quickly and easily. It does take time to chop up a mango, right? But if you can just add a tablespoon of the mango flakes into a drink or your child's cereal or whichever, then they're getting those nutrients in a very fast way. And as a mom who has a lot going on, I can connect with that. So we solve that problem as well of people not knowing how to use the fresh vegetables that they normally, don't have access to. So I'm excited about that. David Rose, are there any other benefits that you want to share with us, or anything else you'd like to add?
Well, thank you, Zan. Thanks for having me here, and it's so great to meet you, John. The one thing I want to add to what you said, John, and what you're promoting, Zen, about Iroquois Valley that you didn't mention yet, is that there's something called a self-directed IRA, where a lot of people in this country have IRAs and 401ks, and they can self-direct those into investments like Iroquois Valley Farms REIT. And so I want to encourage people to ask their IRA administrator if they offer self-directed IRAs. If they don't, there are about a dozen companies in this country that do administer self-directed IRAs. You move it over, and then that's money that people already have socked away somewhere that's going to things that they may not be that happy about, that they can move into this investment that you have. And so I want to just encourage people to do that.
That is great. I didn't know that you could do that.
Thank you very much, David. We are approved on the Fidelity and Schwab platforms for alternative investments, as well as Pershing. And we have a great relationship with a number of really terrific, high integrity impact investment companies like Impact Assets natural investments, RSF social finance, clean yield investments, and there's more and more of those kinds of investment professionals out there all the time.
So I also want to let you know, and we can do this offline, John, that there's another, we did a search, a national search for the best IRA investment providers, self-directed IRA administrators. And the one that we found is, they're called, I think now, Provident Trust Group, LLC. So if you want that, I'll connect you up with those guys too. Anyway, that was that was important because some of the people who do that kind of investing, they feel so good to know that this money that they're contributing anyway out of their paycheck is now going to something they really believe in. On the Just One Organic side, I really want to bring in something that we talked about a little bit, but I just want to emphasize it as a final point. And that's that we in this country right now are in such an incredible opening of awareness as part of this crisis about our health and our well-being as individuals, families, and communities. And the secret to having invincible well-being is in the soil. It's in the mechanism of what happens in microbe-rich soil. If you hold a handful of microbes or a handful of soil in your hand, really rich regenerative soil, you've got more microbes in your hand than people on Earth. That's a fact. And we have about 10 microbes for every cell on and in our bodies. So those networks of incredible vast intelligence that our best science is still just picking away at trying to understand a little bit of, that's what keeps us healthy. So the idea of supporting farmers to get on land to farm regeneratively and organically through what you're doing, John, and to explore and enjoy our products as a way to support this movement. What we're really doing is we're waking up awareness about that soil microbiome as the solution for everything to do with our health. And also, by the way, our local food economies. So I just want to really allow people to envision that the nexus of all these challenges that we see happening right now, it comes together in the soil.
Yeah.
So,
David, we've been saying for a long time that an investment in Iroquois Valley is foundational to emerging local and regional food systems. And with all that what I know about so far about Just One Organics is your company and your technology is also foundational to emerging local and regional food systems.
It's true. We have around 36 or 38 communities around the country right now already that we know of, before you and I talk about what we'll add to that list of communities that are already right now volunteering and doing some initial groundwork to get ready for a general drying center in their communities. Some of those people are farmers, some of them are politicians, businessmen, bankers, all kinds of people get it. So yeah, let's make this happen. Let's do it. We're doing our part. We'll be in at least 2 or 3 more communities next year, and we'd love to be in dozens within a couple of years after that.
So David, Rose, how, if our moms are watching this right now and they know that there are some farmers nearby that do have a lot of food waste, or they're just concerned about it, or they want access to these, food crystals locally, how do they get a gentle drying processing center in their neighborhood or their?
Well, it's a pretty substantial operation to have that kind of impact. So the best thing is have them contact me. And there are some ways we can start buying food right away, even before having to have a center there, by putting them through what's called an individual quick frozen process that in a couple of minutes seals the nutrients in through rapid flash freezing. We do that, then we can ship that food across the country to where we are now, and we can be buying it that way. So I really welcome conversations with farmers who are willing to kind of stretch their mind a little bit to figure out how can we start buying from them right away. That would be incredible.
And so did you say you have 36 centers now?
No, we have 36 communities around this country, plus 13 other countries that are looking at how to get started. Right now we're in Southern Oregon. That's where we're processing right now. And we're doing pretty well there, and we're looking to expand by the end of this year to start projects in at least 3 other places around the country. And so we're open, and I think that's a reasonable kind of scaling rhythm for now, but we've been building a system for the last 10 years to be able to handle hundreds of these all over the country. So we know what it takes. We know what we're doing. We have a great team, and so we are ready to scale.
Well, if fast food places like Panda Express can expand 300 restaurants in a year, I think that we need to start focusing on getting, regenerative organic food that's, nutrient dense to people at the same type of rate. I understand the expansion is going to take a little bit at first, but I'm making a request out there to the people who know millionaires and billionaires that want to do something about the local food system. This is a major solution that can contribute to increasing local food security, increasing the nutrient density of the minerals and vitamins that our children and elderly and citizens across the country receive, and supporting the food supply. I mean, for goodness sakes, we should not see any more news about dumping millions of pounds of tomatoes. I mean, this is just a crime against humanity in my mind. We need to use that food and distribute that food and have it be available. So thank you both very much for everything that you're doing and for access. Your websites are iroquoisvalley.com, right? And just oneorganics.com, that's plural. And I invite people to go and check out your websites, to contact you. We'll put the information up on this video as well. And the call to action is if you yourself cannot invest $10,000 in Iroquois Valley Farm, ask your corporation, your business, you're a business owner, your employer, switch your IRA over to invest and go to the Just One Organics website and check out their products. Try it is so delicious. I have to tell, it tastes like when you have it, the raspberries or the peach or the mango, whichever, it tastes like the absolutely fresh food. It tastes amazing. It looks amazing. It's very versatile to use. Your kids will have fun with it. And then also buy extra and keep it, in your cool place, dry place, so that you sleep better at night, knowing that if there is ever another shutdown like this, that you have access to nutrient dense food as your in your backup, your supply closet, your pantry. So check those websites out and let us know if you have any other questions, and contact us. Thank you, gentlemen, very much for your time today.
Thank you so much, both of you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, David.
Okay, thank you. Aloha.
The whole Moms Across America team, Zen.
Okay, thank you. Our pleasure.